right, welcome everyone. We're Semblance of Sanity. I'm Caleb.
I'm Jacob.
And we're here for
Shinsekai Yori, episode 14. Mamoru's okay.
It's okay.
But you can't go back.
Nope.
Yeah.
Because Trickster Cat has gone after him twice.
Mm-hmm. And second time's usually the charm. So now that they're, like, I can already think of, like, so many complications this brings up. How do you make sure that Mamoru is able to survive out there? How do you make sure that the society doesn't wipe your memory of Mamoru because Mamoru isn't supposed to exist anymore? Mm-hmm. Like, you know, the memories with Shun's whole situation are starting to come back. What do you do with that? You know, like...
This is piling up, and we're only in episode 14.
Yep.
Yeah. So, good luck, y'all. And without further ado, let's get into this. All right, everyone. Now be sure to go check out the reaction portion of the video in the description below, then come back here for the discussion.
Beside myself.
Yeah.
Like, this.
Yeah.
Oh, it's so
we
good.
Get so much good answers
when
Satoru's grandma comes into play here.
Oh, my God.
Because there's so much. Mm-hmm. There's so much that's potentially at play here.
Yep.
So, okay. So let's unpack this.
All right.
We had a casual meeting with her after the hearing. The hearing was primarily to basically set up a procedure for how they deal with not just her but also Satoru. And death was on the table. They had impure cats waiting to
in the next room,
waiting to potentially get sent in.
Yeah.
And,
okay. So
and that's just the immediate thing here. But with her kind of coming in and disrupting the whole hearing here.
Right. You're talking Satoru's grandma?
Yeah. Did we just basically get okay, this is where the rules don't apply. This is where all this is there for those people that are, they're not you. They're not special.
Right. This
is where things just get really dark because they basically just admitted that their whole system kind of has to be essentially surpassed and kind of supplanted with something else in order to have any kind of growth or longevity for the group, which is like, oh God.
I adore how that hearing went down. The conversation with Satoru's grandma after that was absolutely fantastic, and that was the cherry and fudge and whipped cream on top and everything. But like that conversation hit all the notes that I wanted it to hit, that I expected it to hit, and I liked the reasoning of why it happened.
Right.
Like, okay, Saki's being just upfront and honest. All right, cool. They're in some ways they're you know, it's the hey, we're not trying to trap her, you know, all that stuff. They're doing the good cop bad cop thing. They're absolutely trying to trap her, but at the same time, like they're not. You know,
they're interrogating.
They're interrogating her, you know, but it's not just the one person who's being overly aggressive. So the moment by moment is still interesting, right? But then Saki does the thing that I was hoping she would do, right? Of the, okay, you want the truth, I'll tell you the truth. And they end up freaking out, and it's the, oh no, that was, that like...
You shouldn't have said that.
Yeah, right, you shouldn't have said that. Like, in Saki's case, she didn't really have much of another option, but they were not willing to accept that. And the vibe that I got of why is because it's that's above our pay grade in a way. Like,
I get what you're saying there.
That's not quite the right way to say it.
The best way to say it is basically that if you start dropping things like that, then we have no choice anymore but to do this. In that respect, they don't get to investigate anymore. They have to execute.
Right, exactly. It's the like, obviously they know that those sorts of things exist and that's what's going on and all that stuff.
But they have the impure cats literally in the back room.
Right, they're literally in the back room, but it's the our hands are tied at this point. Like you know, like what you were saying.
Right. They don't want to basically get into a situation where it gets muddy and they have to execute the one that seems to be so special in the eyes of the ethics committee and all that. And it's the second there's any kind of worry of that, I bet you anything, Grandma just powered herself like right to the door and was like, and stop. That's not happening.
Yeah, exactly.
Nope.
Right.
This is I am putting executive order number 1
Right.
into play here.
Because that was basically a situation in which the grandma knew, of course, that this is a failing of the system.
Yeah, exactly.
What Saki did here was not wrong. This was the best thing to do.
Right.
This is a situation that exists. How do you deal with it? How do you adapt? This society is not built to be able to adapt, right? It's built to be rigid because that's what they believe they need. And in a lot of ways, that is kind of what they need, right? But that doesn't cover all of the situations.
Tomiko, that's her name.
Tomiko,
right?
yes.
Yeah.
And so now we're in this situation where it's like oh shit, what's going to happen to Saki? Because it makes sense that of course they would be like, all right, well now you've got to die, right? But then nope, we've got this other character that comes in, saves her, and then we get answers. And I love the answers that we got.
The answers that we got were
Like,
so fucking just
good.
just good. Okay, so the experiment. Let's talk about the experiment here.
Yeah, that was probably my favorite answer that we got because it's the because
Yeah, that's why you guys are the ones having the story be told about you.
Exactly.
But also just this is why anything is happening at all in this society is that we decided willingly to break the rules.
right, because otherwise, you know, the society itself would kind of break down in a believability standpoint also because, well, wouldn't this be normal? Wouldn't this be happening all the time? Because they're just doing regular teenage
And
stuff.
it's like, no, this is not normal.
No, because they specifically make it so that no one does regular teenage stuff.
Right.
You know? Like, no.
Well,
So-
they do, but they put suggestive,
Yeah, it's
hypnotic suggestions into them at a young age to the point where it doesn't matter. None of it
Right.
is unexpected because of the danger of ogres and or karmic demons. So it's
Yep.
they nurture their way out of this situation
Exactly.
via their own power being used on the kids. So in this case, it's no, we specifically didn't do anything like that. Or we specifically used hypnotic suggestions to open your gates, if you will.
Sure.
And that's cool because there were a lot of things that were unique about Saki just in the way that the parents responded to Saki.
Sure.
Just the idea that there was a point where a cat was haunting her. There was a point where her power wasn't working. There were a lot of things that
Right.
were just off about her. And we even then didn't realize how odd that was until like the story started drip feeding to us
Exactly.
there's little things that are inconsistent here. And we didn't know if that was the inconsistencies in the society or her, but now we know, it's not just her. Shun, Satoru, Mamoru, Maria, and even Reiko back then. All of them. And that's the fucked up thing about this, is that all of them are by the nature of being experiments, they're expendable.
Yes.
None of them are or were intrinsically important enough by the nature of the experiment. The experiment told them who was going to be more important. Now, obviously, they probably had enough testers in place to be able to predict that a Shun equivalent would come out of one of them.
Right. They probably had very good reasons for choosing them specifically
Yes.
as the experiments, right?
They had base readings that were able to be picked
like,
up, and they're like,
oh,
okay,
yeah.
so this one seems to have the potentials of being a genius. This one seems to be really good at their abilities. This one seems to be, some other things here. Oh,
Right.
okay, cool. We've got a good. Let's put them into a group.
Exactly.
And we'll run the experiment that we do once every 100 years or something.
Like for instance, I could totally see there being something where they probably have some kind of like reading that they get on people of like, what's your chance of like being an ogre, right? And then they have some threshold of like, okay, as long as they're above this point, we won't do anything, and then we'll keep a close eye. And I'm guessing all of them were probably like but they actually are like, they have very little chance of being an ogre or something like that, and so it's okay.
Or just their general aptitude was really good. But the thing that's weird is that Saki had, in some ways, maybe some things that were off about her, and we don't know if those were because of the hypnotic suggestions or the lack thereof, but there was maybe something going on in Saki's family with regards to the siblings
That's
all
true.
being gone.
Yeah.
That maybe Saki was just, we're going to keep trying this family line until we get a success.
Or maybe they just wanted a diverse sample size, or like a diverse set of samples.
Sure.
So it's
Let's put them all into the group. Shun's actually the one we're most interested in.
Right. And then,
you know.
hey, all of a sudden, this person that we were kind of expecting to be kind of a dud, Saki, suddenly she's,
Everything's clicking.
yeah.
Wow.
All right, cool.
Wonderful.
That's why. That's
Double
why.
down on her. Yep.
Exactly. Yeah.
That's just so dark because while from Saki's perspective, she can't change the past.
Nope.
She's in some ways approaching this very, very cold way where she understands, at the very least, they're working with me. So I need to do what I can to protect the people that I have right around me now.
Yes.
The scary thing about that is because she's able to think so rationally and logically, none of her responses to this are as the result of brainwashing. Now, there's a little bit of a caveat we need to put into the place here. Anytime the brainwashing committee tells you you're not brainwashed, you need to really
take it with a grain of salt.
Take it with a grain of salt.
Yeah.
There's probably some things, obviously, like the death of shame, you're still under the effect of that.
Right.
But there's probably some things that are like, well, we still have off switches on you. We still have like,
right.
We just gave you the ability to think freely.
Yeah. Tomiko, in order, like, before she got this experiment greenlit, she probably had to, they probably had all sorts of procedures that we don't have to see that were set up behind the scenes to be like, we're going to make sure that this goes as well as possible. We'll have all sorts of layers for damage control.
And yet, everything with Shun happened.
Yeah.
So in some ways, no, they really have deemed these kids to be expendable as long as they get something out of it.
Right.
And that's just so messed up. Because while Maria and Mamoru made the decision, fuck this, we're leaving, we could see it in their eyes when they were like, we'll head back. Satoru head back really quickly. And it's
Well, right. It's it's that bit of paranoia of like, hang on, you know that this society's bad. It was gonna kill Mamoru. Why are you going back? Like,
or not just why are you going back, but why are you going back so quickly? Like, let's try and help him here,
Sure. Yeah.
I really, really liked the visual, nonverbal storytelling where you could tell by Maria's look and the way she was like not saying anything, that, and also even the angles that they would show where it's no, she doesn't trust you two necessarily.
Right.
And she had good reason to. They literally came back.
Right. And came back with the intention of bringing them back.
Yeah.
Because then it's not just a question of whether she trusts them, of them like betraying them or anything.
Right.
But just whether or not they've been duped. Let's say Saki was even right to trust Kumiko.
Tomiko.
Tomiko.
Yeah.
Tomiko. This is not Hibike Euphonium. And it's like, oh yeah, maybe she was telling the truth. But then it's something where, no, the other people are like, we respect you, but no, we can't take that risk. And then it's just, oh, shit.
Yeah. Or shit, you were followed.
Yeah. Oh, God, yeah.
It's freaky. Or the other thing of like, oh, no, the second you guys came back, we sent the monster rats out.
Sure.
Like, you think we would hesitate for some weird reason? No. No, that's why they ran. They were sleeping and they woke up to there were monster rats, that were swarming and they could feel them coming and they just had to run.
Oh, and then when you two get back, we're going to be like, thank you for your service. Awesome. You brought the two of them back. Wait, who are these people? Brainwash. That's Maria and Maria and Mamoru. You brought them back. Thank you.
Good job, yeah.
Good job.
Yeah.
We were worried for a second, but you did such a good job.
Yeah, it's so terrifying when the mind wiping, brainwashing adults basically start becoming proud of you because they're like, yeah, we need you,
and that's
it's like,
and that's the thing that probably makes Tomiko so I feel like Saki can trust her.
Kinda
is because she is not playing by the rules of the system, right?
Well, right,
but not entirely.
But also she
wrote
long
the book,
right, but also she did the long, wistful, kind of look out of, I might have made the same decision too once. And it's kind of this thing of is Tomiko trapped in the prison that she's made, basically? And it's a thing where being free is worth it by any means necessary, to the point where she would make this experiment to build a replacement bot, essentially.
Oh, sure.
And it's no, I need to get out. I can't do this anymore.
And And also just
Like, I mean,
love
I
that.
don't think that's the case necessarily.
Right.
Like,
But it's like theoretically it could be. Who
well,
knows,
theoretically, her from 100 years ago might have thought that.
Sure,
And it's
yeah.
now I'm like you, Saki, where
Right.
I don't necessarily feel anything from that, but I don't know if those are my true feelings
Yep.
or if that's just been the way I've conditioned myself even. Like
Yeah.
that's the really scary thing is that if Tomiko is so old and so powerful and stuff like that, there's even the possibility that she willingly put herself into the situations to be brainwashed by people of like, I need you to remove this memory from me. I need you to do like, there's so many kinds of ways in which the people here are medicating or forcing the medication of sorts into others for the purpose of this society. And as we get deeper and deeper into it, we see the inconsistencies even more.
Yep.
Because, well, it must continue. And it's like, well...
Yeah, I mean, no,
I
it
get
makes sense.
it.
It makes sense. You get it. I get it.
I love just the casual drop of... Do you know about nuclear weaponry? Do you know about that? No.
Yeah.
Okay.
Humans are a hell of a lot worse than that.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
There's 50 to 60,000 of them in Japan.
Right. Did you feel like that was a thing of where it's well, okay, so what she's talking about is that there are 50 to 60,000 accounted in their network of villages that they're all associated with.
I don't
Kamisu 66 equivalent, basically, right?
I don't think so, because I feel like the sense that I got from the villages, now granted, Kamisu 66, so maybe there's at least 66 villages,
right.
you know?
And then,
like, that's possible.
And then you just do the math, and if there's, 500 per village or
Right.
800 per village,
But I got the vibe that it was
50,000,
more of a thing where it's like there's like less than 10 villages, you know?
No, I believe I want to say when they brought up the whole 10 villages thing,
Like there were like 6 or 7 that they mentioned as like ones that they were like, okay, so there's these villages, where do you think, like, Shun, I think they were trying to find Shun, and it's like, where do you think he is? Okay, well...
Right. But that doesn't necessarily mean that's like all of them, because it's...
Right, that could just be the ones that they know about, you know?
Right, or
There
the
could-
ones that they're allowed to have contact with. And it's
Exactly, right.
Oh, no, she's like, no, there's way more than 5,000. There's closer to 50,000,
Sure.
know? But that's another thing. This is a show from a child's perspective, so the point of where they bring up the exact population of Kamisu 66 is, not necessarily relevant.
Sure, but the idea that, and I'm not sure if this was 100% intended, they used that as the reason of this is why we can't let Maria and Mamoru be out there, but the idea that theoretically it's not just we would be worried about them two as individuals.
Right.
Theoretically, we could know, okay, yeah, they're actually
a kid.
they're stable and all that stuff.
Yeah.
But what if they have kids? Right?
What if they have
What if they
just
start
one?
Yeah, just one, right? Like that's something that we can't necessarily allow. And so there's all of these ways in which theoretically you could find a solution to this situation. But because of how crazy the situation is, because of the society where Mamoru and them running off, that's the society's fault as well. Because it's of course they would do that. Like you think they wouldn't, you know? And yet they didn't have to, right? It's so,
yeah. In a lot of ways, it makes sense how much they were trying to regulate relationships as well.
Sure.
In the past, like half dozen episodes or so, because in a lot of ways, a lot of the interactions we saw were on the kind of romantic side of things were same sex. So, there weren't going to be any like surprise,
Oh, so that they could
or anything that.
They could keep tabs on the number of children also that would be being born for the overall
they
population
keep tabs
of the village.
also as to when a child would be born.
Sure.
So it's not just the like, one was born to some shenanigans were happening.
Right, exactly.
Kids are sleeping around, and one of them's going to be pregnant and stuff.
We're trying
we found out a week later. It's no. We need to know the day.
Sure, because if they're trying
to put them into the program,
right. If their mission is to reduce stress and all that sort of stuff on the people in this village, then it makes sense that when it comes to romantic relationships and teenage years and all of that stuff, that's where they'd be especially like involved. And so, if it's when are they going to have children? Well, we want it to be in as stable of a situation as possible and in as controlled of an environment as possible. And because, that...
They didn't do like all right, here you go. Here's how you do safe sex. They just did the like, well, yeah, when it comes to, picking, partners and things like that, we'll keep you guys doing this stuff here specifically.
Right, it's the trying to control them without trying to make it seem like they're being controlled,
Right.
Yeah, that way
Subtle.
the people don't end up resenting the control, and they can...
Well, I mean, also just, again, this is where the show has written itself in such a way that they've guided themselves around so many plot holes by basically just giving carte blanche answers like, no, there are several hypnotic suggestions done at childbirth. Don't explain what all of those are.
Yep.
You don't need to. Once you just said that, all of the behavior that could be seen as like odd responses to weird things by the not main characters then become, nope, that's just...
We are aware of that.
We can hand wave all of it.
We actively mitigate it to a quite extreme degree. That it's not much of an issue.
And then maybe some kids, end up getting disappeared because they were a bully in the racing competition.
Right.
Or they were cheating in that.
Exactly.
Like
they maybe they don't respond well to the hypnotic suggestions. It's because the whole idea of the memory wiping not working perfectly.
Right.
The fact that it's also an experiment makes this work so much better, because then it's of course we don't do that normally because it's imperfect.
Right.
And so normally that's why we need to keep the society as sterile as it is, so that we don't have to do that much. But if we need to, we can. But it's, then we're dealing with like 90% effectiveness rather than, 99.8% effectiveness,
Yeah,
so,
exactly.
Oh, boy.
Okay, so they're gone. Satoru, okay. I really love that because the story focuses so much on Saki, we don't really get that much time with Satoru, but I would love to see what's going on in his head right now. Because the fact that he was brought in so quickly, his hearing was done for a while. I was right about that. And he's like, oh yeah, then they sent me quickly to catch up with you. And I'm like, okay, all right.
I mean, that must have been so... Well, yeah, and it's not just the fact that he said that's what happened, but the fact that he seemed so, like, relaxed.
Yeah, everything was great.
Because I would think that if it's okay, now wait here, and, we'll wait for Saki's thing to go through, that would be some of the most nerve-wracking, holy shit, I'm hyperventilating moments of my life. And that's something like he doesn't...
Okay, yeah.
And he doesn't have Saki's like he's not different in the way that Saki is, where she can just kind of handle this stuff really well. Well,
he kind of can. That was the thing I was going to bring up, is that the only time we've really seen him
get rattled,
lose it, was when they were literally out there trying to fight monster rats, trying to survive.
Yes.
And the fact that they went through that, I think Satoru's got some pretty strong mental reserve.
Yes, that is true.
He's tough.
Right.
But
he thought quickly on his feet and was like, "Oh, Mamoru was injured. That's and that's why Maria had to stay there.
Right.
Because she's taking care of him.
Right. So he kind of lied in just the right way to get things into a good situation. And in that respect, maybe he was also willing to take the fall a bit by running in and initiating the story.
Sure.
So that Saki didn't have to think about that as much.
Right.
And that also could be another thing into where he still kind of harbors a little bit of feelings towards Saki, a little bit left over from that stuff when they were younger. And he's just trying to protect her in the best way that he can. So in that way, he was kind of ready to be like, no, I'll take this. I got this.
Yeah, I'll be the one to go back.
Right. And then because he was there first, so his did just naturally finish early. But I still wonder if Saki's just not thinking about it this way. But the idea that, because this is what I'm curious about. You send an impure cat after Mamoru, right? Stalks him fine. Second time, Mamoru fights back.
Right.
Beats the impure cat. If that's what Mamoru can do,
and Mamoru's the not as competent one with power.
Mamoru is the least competent. And not necessarily because he's weak. It's just no. He's not confident in himself in general.
Sure.
But do you necessarily think that the impure cats would have been able to do what they're supposed to do if you turned them on them immediately? And thus was Satoru's thing more of a, this is our backup hostage situation. Rather than would we have
100%.
sicked the impure cats on her, it's no, we would have sicked them on him and been like, if you don't comply,
Right.
he's gone.
You're done.
And we'll clean this up to the point where you won't even remember him after we've killed him. Like,
Sure.
Like,
Yep. Uh-huh.
Like,
yeah, because just because they can't bring themselves to, say, kill Saki themselves, right?
Right.
That doesn't mean they couldn't restrain her, wipe her memory, whatever. And then once it's like that, okay, and now we have the impure cats. Take her out.
Right. And it's we don't want to, and maybe this is also where it's not necessarily how the education community would have done this, but the way Tomiko would have had to do this is I've always thought in my head what would have happened if if there was a no-win scenario with you, Saki.
Sure.
And the way I would do it, probably just trying to think as Tomiko here, is I would have absolutely used your friends against you. Because they're all part of the experiment, so in some ways they're acceptable losses in the pursuit of the experiment working.
And if you're the one that I valued the most, and if you ended up being a problem,
I would discard them immediately.
Then the whole experiment's a bust,
Well, right. But meaning that she would discard the others long before she would think about discarding Saki.
Right.
And it's I don't know if Saki's thought that far ahead, but I feel like this was a point where the adults, especially if this show does this with all its writing, layering all this stuff in, this was a moment where the adults, or specifically Tomiko, were like, no, this is fine. Okay, you guys are getting a little bit out of hand here because you don't know how to handle a child knowing all this info.
Yeah,
so
exactly.
Sorry, I told her all this, but
you acted rashly with Mamoru. Like, I love that. The idea that it's no. Of course, it's an experiment. Things are going to get a little dicey, because we are dealing with worse than nukes here.
Right.
But it's gonna be fine, and they're like, no, it's not. It's like, trust me, I've been around for a long time. This is going to be fine.
Yeah.
But okay,
right.
it's your jurisdiction. Damn it, you sent them after, Mamoru, and so now
I do like how they have the sweat droplets of technically you shouldn't be interfering here.
Right.
This is our and she's like, yeah, I know, but
right.
I am. So
because it's the thing of we know who you are, but also at the same time, in order to make sure that this does stay a good system, you can't have one person that just sort of butts in and it's like
dictator power.
Yeah, right, exactly.
Even though she kind of just did. So.
But she gave some very good reasons, and it's the
I love her reasons. Yeah. Yes, but she's terrifying, and I do not trust her. And I'm still holding out for she is playing her game. She is playing the experiment. She is doing this as well as she can, using all the. I just don't trust immortal brainwashing elderly people. That's straight up some Palpatine shit.
See,
that is Palpatine.
I get excited when I'm not going to say villains here. When antagonists, and even that is with an asterisk because maybe not, start to be open and honest. Because then it's like, okay, maybe I can play this game. It's like, do I agree with you? Do I think that you do some reprehensible things? Sure.
Yeah.
But let's talk.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
It's the times when you have the people that are like, we asked you a question, answer honestly. Shit, she answered honestly. How dare you? Right? Kill her. It's like, fuck off.
Well, right. I think they were not expecting her to give the why in combination with that because they're like, well, that's another thing.
Like, that was just
hold on. Actually, wait, hold on. That's another thing. I need to go back here. She does not reveal the experiment to the education committee.
No, she does. She's like, it's also
Well, hold on. Let me just check here. I've told her quite a few things.
Can I bring up
go
she's like, I'm also partly to blame, of course, because I was the one who suggested the experiment.
Hold on. Yeah. So when she says that, she's saying it was not she never says the word experiment here. At least from what I can see here, it was necessary to train the next leader of the town.
Yeah, but she mentions the experiment. Okay.
So I'm looking through this here.
Let's go through with the full time then, because the subtitles are weird and it can skip things.
Okay. It would have been right about here, because she says, I told her some things. Yeah. Right, so she's basically surprised that like you told her this stuff here, but she brings it up as it's being necessary to train as a leader, and then showing that you need to treat her with extra privileges and stuff.
No, right, but she mentions
She mentions
maybe
it, I
it wasn't
think,
in that
to
location,
her.
but she mentions the experiment here because that's why Saki brings it up later. She's like, "What did you mean by the experiment?"
Oh, you're right. You're right. She says it at the end here, after she chastises them.
Right, failure to execute that rash decision properly.
Oh, is this it?
I'm responsible too. Right, I'm the one who ordered the experiment to be performed on Group 1. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Right.
Okay, my bad. Yeah. Okay, yeah. Shoot. Okay. Gotcha.
But yeah, fascinating developments that we've got in this episode in so many different directions. And the thing is, there's that part of me that's still like, maybe they could find them in the, and get them back in the 3 days.
Right. Yeah. I guess it just doesn't make sense why they would be surprised at her responses, given that they know that she's part of an experiment. I feel like it's like you're saying, it's the how dare you tell the truth, when we asked you to tell the truth.
Well, and not just we asked you to tell the truth, but we know you're hiding something that you shouldn't know. Like, so like they already kind of knew that she knew about the impure cats. They just wanted the confirmation.
Well, right. I don't even think they were wanting that. I think they were just wanting her to comply like a good, normal little child.
Sure.
And
Right.
she's not doing that because she's part of the experiment.
Damn it, why do we have to have our lives get complicated?
Right. So two responses to this. One, because they were not part of some experiment with the ability to think freely, they literally don't know how to respond to this.
Sure.
Two, this is an and/or situation. It doesn't really matter which it is. The other thing is that they actually don't know the full extent of what the experiment's nature is.
Sure,
and
or the ramifications of it.
Well, the same effective thing is what I'm trying to say. Is basically that they don't know what the experiment means. All they know is that there's an experiment with Group 1.
Right.
And that's why I think that based on their responses, I was trying to say that they don't know that she's on the experiment. They know that she is, but they, by their own words, they don't actually know what that means.
It's middle management.
It might as well be nothing.
Right. It's middle management that comes in and has basically maybe read like a briefing or whatever. Okay, this is the situation here. But they haven't lived it. They haven't breathed it. They don't actually know the ins and outs of what's going on.
Right.
And so then they're also scared. And they're like, okay, we have a job to do. They go to do it, and they're making asses of themselves, basically.
Yeah, and they're also blocked literally by higher management that comes in and says, no, in this instance, you can't do your job. Don't do it.
Right. In some ways, that's a mercy because it's all right, you guys in some ways aren't equipped for this. Okay, we're just gonna stop this here.
Yeah, exactly.
We gave you a shot. No, that was probably a bad idea.
Right.
I'll fix it.
So yeah, it feels like it's either a plot hole if they go for they knew about the experiment, or it's actually no, they did know about the experiment by literally the way that she said it here, but they've never really brought in what the details of the experiment are. But then that also kind of breaks down because they've been handling Shun, they've been handling, Reiko, they've been handling all this other stuff. So it feels weird that they would be surprised by anything that she said, unless maybe it was some this is how bad it's gotten.
Right. They are used to doing everything by the book as rote and literal. And that's how their job is.
Right, they're dealing with brainwashed children. There shouldn't be any irregularities.
Right.
Except in this literal case.
In this literal case that they probably weren't even a fan of to begin with. Right?
Sure.
It was her pet project. It was her idea,
yeah.
And then suddenly they're needing to deal with it, and they haven't had to deal with something like this before. Maybe in this specific experiment group, but before that. And so it's just we'll do this how we do. It's by the book, but the person's not they went against the book. What do we do when they do that? You know?
Right. But there's another thing that I think kind of confirms this as well. Was she said it's to bring about her as the leader of the next leader. And they're like,
right.
her? Meaning like they had no knowledge of that.
Sure.
So that's another thing in the experiment that they literally
they
didn't
know that there's
about.
an experiment probably happening and what the experiment is, but not why, not, you know, the day-to-day stuff or, you know.
Right. Or even really anything other than we're doing things differently with them, but it's not your place to know what's being done differently.
Sure.
Or like you're saying, why.
Right. And in some ways that might have been a way that they're trying to be helpful of the, hey, just
treat them normally.
Yeah, just treat them normally like any other situation. You know?
Yeah, that might be the only way the experiment would work, actually.
Right. And then if there's a situation that is the exception to the rule kind of a deal, I mean, maybe they didn't tell them about this beforehand, but this is one of those situations. Okay, I'll come in and try and handle this.
Yeah, so my bad. That was why I got so confused as they talked about the experiment because but they literally don't know. They're talking as if they don't know.
Right, so, and especially with the way that they were handling Saki's situation.
Right. Yeah, that's what it was. Yeah. Mm-hmm. But okay. That's basically it. The episode gives us a nice cliffhanger for exploring the outer wilds and hey, let's encounter some helpful monster rats. I think I think I'm already starting to see a pattern for this show with the make excursions beyond the barrier.
Yep.
Encounter a friendly monster rat. End up encountering some not so friendly monster rats. Things get chaotic. Power is used. Monster rats die.
Yeah,
It's
right.
pretty-
Whole proxy wars between monster rats that are like, oh yeah, we like you guys versus the, oh, we like you guys, we worship you, and we're your exterminators. You know?
Yeah. So, all right. But y'all, thank you so much for watching this episode's reaction and discussion. If you want to see the next episode's reaction and discussion right now, though, go check out the link in the description below. For our Patreon, you can get an early access there. You can watch full-length timer reactions there, and all this comes with Discord access, so you can chat with us in the community there about this show, about anime in general, and also be sure to check out our Twitch channel.
We stream every weekday. The info's in the description.
Yes, if any of that interests you, we'll see you there. But until then, we're Semblance of Sanity. I'm Caleb.
I'm Jacob.
And we'll see you all
Next time.